It's time to have a discussion about the cold, hard truth regarding Sandy Alcantara.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for about 4 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. And as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, I'm going to talk about Sandy Alcantara. Another horrific start. I'm almost at a loss of words just regarding the Marlins' plans with Sandy Alcantara and just the fall from grace that we've seen. It's heartbreaking. It's frustrating, but I need to remove the fan perspective for a second and just talk about the facts. And that's the first segment of the show. Second and third segment, I'm going to be joined by a guest, Anthony A. He's over on Twitter, South Florida guy, and we're going to discuss the Marlins stadium attendance and how the city of Miami, the fan base, is going to be bought into this organization again. And that's coming up later. Really excited for the second part of this conversation. But this first segment is going to be all about Sandy. I don't exactly know what went wrong because Sandy Alcantara was a Cy Young winner as recent as 2022. I remember that season and the sheer dominance that he had over Major League Baseball teams. He was cruising against everybody. There was no real sense of struggle from Sandy Alcantara. He was the man. He was the first Cy Young winner in Marlins history. And it was a magical, dominant season. And you fast forward to 2023, you saw cracks in the armor. He wasn't as sharp as he had been. There would be that one blow-up inning, where everything kind of fell apart and crumbled, but the other 4 innings were fine. And you were so frustrated watching it because you could see, Sandy performing well for the most part, but the numbers weren't showing that. And then, of course, he gets hurt. He doesn't pitch in the playoffs. He's shut down. Misses all of 2024 with Tommy John surgery and rehabbing from that. Comes back and is a shell of his former self. Wednesday against the Reds, 5 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs. They were all earned. 2 walks. He struck out 4. Gave up a homer. His ERA on the season now through 18 starts sits at 7.22. He's arguably the worst starter in Major League Baseball. Game in and game out. He had a nice little stretch in the month of June. Teams against the Pirates, like the Pirates, the Rockies. Then he had the Phillies and the Braves. And you thought he was turning a corner. And it all came crashing down. Got blew up in Arizona. Just hard hit after hard hit. Milwaukee got to him. And I said before the game, I tweeted out, I need a classic Sandy start. This is it. This is where the rubber meets the road. At some point, you have to perform. And it's not happening. Not even close. 6 earned runs in 5 innings. He was laboring. He was at 90 pitches through 4. The camera panned to the dugout, and you saw him just beside himself. distraught, saddened. He's frustrated. The Marlins fan base is frustrated. This is a shock to everybody because coming into the season, I would have told you that the story of the 2025 Marlins, from a front office perspective, all the trades Peter Bendix makes and made last season, he made the offseason acquisitions or trades to get to deal away Jesus Luzardo and Jake Berger. Sandy Alcantara was the one remaining piece you felt coming into the season that was going to get you a substantial return and inject some real talent into this system. Keep up with the rebuild. There's no way the Marlins can trade Sandy right now. There's just no way. Who's going to pay for him? Who wants him? Sure, maybe there's a team out there that is enamored by the 2022 season still and says, okay, we can fix him. And this is just a fluke. We'll be able to fix him once he gets in our system and works with our pitching coaches. We'll tweak something mechanically, whether that's that they believe in their pitching model. They're not going to pay what the Marlins. They're not going to pay half of what the Marlins were expecting to get in any potential Sandy trade at the beginning of the season. It's not going to happen. What do you do if you're the Marlins? Do you just keep running him out there every fifth day and expecting him to bounce back and suddenly become what he used to be? This isn't good for his confidence. It's not good for the team. It's not good for anybody involved. Go to Savant and look at the numbers, how he stacks up. In fact, I'm on Savant right now. I have the numbers pulled up, and I'll read them to you. I'll save you the trouble of doing that. It's blue across the board. The only metric he has going for him in red in the 91st percentile is fastball velocity. He doesn't miss bats. He gets hit hard. 19th percentile in hard hit percentage, 44.6%. The expected stats aren't good either. Expected ERA, 14th percentile at 4.95. Expected batting average, 2.83. Even the expected stats, although they're better than the reality of the situation, the real numbers here, they're still not good. That's Cal Quantrill-esque. A 5 ERA. The cold hard truth and the reality of the situation is that Sandy Alcantara is not good. He's not good. And there's a level of nostalgia and loyalty when it comes to us Marlins fans of thinking back to that 2022 season, thinking back to the pitcher that told Donnie Mattingly, go back to the dugout, I got this, and goes and finishes a complete game. And we say, where is it? It's about to show up. That version of Sandy is about to show up. And it's the complete opposite. If you take the name Sandy Alcantara away, and you just look at the straight numbers, the straight cold hard statistics, he's awful. Is he going to turn it around? What has he given us to assume that? A handful of starts in June. It's heartbreaking. They can't move him because if they do, then you have the contract too. While yes, it's team friendly, it's still a chunk of money. I believe he's owed $17 million this season, 17 or 21 next year. It's not cheap by Marlins standards, that is. I never would have expected this. Never. I'm truly at a loss for words when it comes to this and it's just time to face the chin music. It's time to face the reality as a fan base, as somebody that talks about this team every weekday and has vocally, voiced my opinion on Sandy Alcantara, that same old Sandy's going to show up. And I keep telling myself that, and I keep vocalizing this on the show when the reality is telling me something else. The numbers are right in front of me. He doesn't strike out anybody. So, 91 innings, 71 strikeouts. He's not a strikeout pitcher, nor has he ever been a strikeout pitcher. Everything he throws is over the center of the plate. This is his lowest K per 9 rate at 7.02 in his entire career. He's not missing bats. He gets hit hard. He gives up homers. Yeah, the velocity's there. He's throwing the ball hard. It's not like he had a huge decrease from Tommy John surgery where the arm just isn't working, but he's leaving it over the heart of the plate every single time on the fastball. He's throwing a curveball that he got taken deep about 430. I don't even know the numbers. It looked 430. The secondaries aren't snapping like they used to snap. The fastball is it's got velocity. That's it. Doesn't move. Has no rise. It's rough. Coming up next, I'm going to talk with Anthony A. Welcome him into the show. And we're going to discuss the stadium attendance for the Marlins. I heard it was popping this past 4th of July. I'm really excited for this conversation with Anthony. Stick around. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merchandise, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. By the way, Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. It makes it easy to browse the app. And one of the best features of the Gametime app is the all-in pricing. This is my favorite thing. There's no hidden fees when it comes to buying your tickets on Gametime for any event you want to go to. You can literally go on the app, click the all-in pricing feature, and then see exactly what you're paying at checkout. $40 ticket is $40 ticket. It's the best part of it, in my opinion. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I appreciate all the everyday listeners out there. Make sure you hit subscribe on that YouTube channel. And let me know your thoughts. Share the podcast as well with your friends Monday through Friday. And now joining me is Anthony A. He's a big personality on X, South Florida guy. Welcome into the show, Anthony.
I appreciate it, man. This is like my first time being on a guest on a real big platform. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the friendship that we've grown on X, man. And just, man, it was a tough one tonight, but either way, man, the way this team is rolling, man, this is the best we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, the Marlins, I spent the whole first segment kind of discussing Sandy Alcantara and the whole situation going on with that. But switching to a more positive note, because the team has been playing well, I wanted to mention the stadium attendance, because you told me that 4th of July in particular, the place was popping. It was electric. Fans were in the stands, and that's how it should be. And do you think that's just a fever dream, or is that going to one day be reality? And if so, was it just because of the holiday, or were fans like actually bought in and having a good time?
Part of it is the holiday. You have to play that into a factor because tourism is obviously going to be high.
For sure.
But at the same time, the people I interacted with were genuinely like amazed with how good the Marlins were playing at that time. Um, and it was just special, just how, of course, on the road against San Francisco, against Arizona, the way they just swept those series, and even to it. Let me just make sure I get these dates right because I want to make sure I'm very like picky when it comes to my knowledge and stuff like this. So like, of course, then the Reds came to town, and then they did pretty good in that one. No, it was the Twins. The Twins, my bad. It was the
Twins,
Twins
yeah.
that came to town, and they did good in that series. They lost one, but they won 2 out of 3 games. And then the Brewers, that July 4th weekend. I mean, of course, you got some Brewers fans in the building, but people were genuinely like happy with how the Marlins were rolling. And again, no one on this team is really that popular right now. I mean, Stowers, of course, is an all-star, respectfully so, and deservedly so. But not many people know this roster too well outside of Sandy. But the
Right.
fact that people were genuinely happy to be there, they were excited for the game, and it was just beautiful to see. Because I've said, like, to my friends all the time, like, Miami is a great city to be a baseball town. I know, obviously, the Miami Heat have dominated for years of sports fans. Dolphins, popular but not successful, respectfully. And of course, you can't count out the Florida Panthers. They just went back to back. But baseball is just such a very family oriented sport that it brings people together no matter who you're a fan of. And just to see like all the excitement, it just brings me so much joy just to see that. And man, they've been killing it. It's great for business and it's great for the city.
I think because you remember when I went down to Miami and this past May, and I got to experience the stadium for the first time in person.
Which, by the
And I
way,
just,
I
yeah,
just like not to cut you off, but like it was so funny meeting you because I've only seen you online. It was hard to recognize you at times. Like I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, I was partially busy, but at the same time, it was like, do I know this guy? I feel like I know this guy, but yeah.
yeah. I think the stadium itself, when I walked in, my initial reaction was just wow. Like, this place is beautiful and nobody talks about it. It was clean. It was such a clean stadium because I've been to a handful of MLB parks. I'm sure the listeners or watchers of the show have been to other ballparks as well. But nobody in, the national media really gives the time of day to loanDepot Park, formerly Marlins Park. And part of that, I think, has to do with the team, the Marlins, and the production on the field. But what I really wanted to point out is that what you said about this past 4th of July, the place being electric, people being happy, energetic, watching a hot baseball team. They were playing really good baseball, and they still are. I mean, they've won 2 in this series against the Reds, can go for the series win tomorrow. I just think that this stadium they've done such a good job on maintaining the facility, keeping it up to date. It feels like a modern day, just like it. I don't know how to describe it other than a playoff atmosphere at loanDepot Park is going to be absolutely electric.
It absolutely would be. And as a matter of fact, we just had a meeting the other day about the loanDepot Park is actually one of the top cleanest Major League Baseball parks overall.
Right.
So that is something we take pride in, is being a great park for fans to come in and enjoy a nice time and watch. Of course, right now a really hot team going on. So there's a lot of things you have to give credit to that, of course, are not highlighted because, as mentioned before, the team hasn't seen much success, which is hard to bring fans in on a nightly basis. Like, just to give you some numbers, like in that 4th of July weekend, they recorded over 10,000 people. I don't think that's happened before, at least in a long time. So the fact that this team is rolling and on a holiday, it just made everything so much great for like so much better for business. And again, like you said, it's not highlighted enough. Like loanDepot Park is like one of the nicest ballparks. I haven't been to any other one, but and I'm biased. I know that, but dude, like the seating is really really nice. There's not a bad view in sight.
No, there's not.
No, and you can stand right by a bar or right across from home plate and potentially get a home run ball. Matter of fact, last season, in a different position in loanDepot, a baseball almost hit me, and a kid nearly tumbled over me just to get the ball. It was so funny, but again, like it's just the site is beautiful, and I've had so many colleagues tell me like, listen, the park itself is just so beautiful. If people were to come, they would be amazed of just the experience overall.
Yeah, I think that bar area right in left field is just so cool. You got the light up palm tree, you got the view is immaculate. I was like, this is sick. And then the one thing I miss is the fish tanks behind home plate. I think that was a really cool addition that they took away. That's the one thing I would recommend.
I got one of those. I forgot who. I don't know who he was, but I'm pretty sure he was probably a tourist because he's seen the Marlins. And he's like, why did they take away the fish tank? That was something.
Right.
But even then, they added the fireworks. Like every home run, they explode some fireworks off one of the bars across from home plate. So even then, they're still adding some fun to it.
The real question is when it comes to filling up the seats and getting that energy on a consistent basis, I believe you have to earn the respect of the Miami community and the Marlins fan base. Build a strong fan base. And coming up next, we're going to talk about how the Marlins can do just that. How can they get the fans involved and invested, not just for the 4th of July, not just for a long weekend, but the long term, for the coming years. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope. You called the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If previously you juggled 2 phones to help keep your business calls and your personal calls separate, when you're off work, you're off the clock, OpenPhone solves that instantly. The AI agent handles those after-hours calls, and they answer those common questions, so you'll never have to worry about missing a customer as well. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Marlins listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Back here with Anthony A., we're talking about how the Marlins can build a consistent fan base. Get those fans in that beautiful stadium long term, not just for 1 or 2 days, but over the scope, of years. And that's really what the goal should be, because it's too beautiful of a stadium to not have fans watching the games. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I'll turn it over to you. Respect. That's a word that it's frustrating as a Marlins fan, because I feel that the Marlins are disrespected across baseball. You talk with a casual baseball fan, they don't know who Marlins players are. They've never conceived the idea of going to loanDepot Park and checking it off their bucket list, because to them it's irrelevant. And I want that idea. I want that kind of mindset to change. And it starts from the top. It starts with ownership investing back into the team to get a fan base committed to what they're building. And that's what they're trying to do. Peter Bendix is trying to build a consistent winner, but you can talk about, analytics and everything all you want. Bruce Sherman has to be involved financially as well. But among the fan base, and you and I are both, Marlins fans. And obviously you're on the podcast, you watch the games, you want this team to succeed. What would you tell the other casual South Florida guy who likes sports, he likes baseball, but, I'm just going to watch the Heat because I'm going to watch the Panthers because right now those teams are more competitive than the Marlins. How do you get them involved in Miami Marlins baseball?
Well, the Heat right now is a touchy situation. I will say that right now, and I won't get too deep into it.
Hey, at least they made the finals a couple years ago. The Marlins have no goals.
But since then it's been a bit of a hellhole.
All right, but we'll say the Panthers then.
But we'll say Panthers. Well, I will say right now is the best chance because every other team is in the off season. I mean, you have Dolphins training camp coming soon, but even that's not super exciting because we're still a little far away from pads being on, which is when the real deal comes around. But for a casual, I would say, of course, again, winning solves a lot, especially for this team. And so I would also like to say this, winning solves that. And so you can be like, hey, the Marlins are on a roll. And I heard they have a good ballpark. Let's check it out. Tickets aren't that pricey. So you can get great seats. So that's part of it. Also, I think another thing we have to do better is, and this is where I speak a bit as a Fanatics employee, we need to start selling jerseys with names on them, starting with Stowers.
That's a good point.
Because we don't sell jerseys with name on them for some obvious reasons that I won't get deep into.
Okay, can I stop you there for a second?
Go ahead.
I was not aware because I remember going into the Fanatics store. I was seeing you. You were working, and there was a lot of different options, a lot of different clothing options. I think I ended up getting one of the 305 hats, really cool hat. But I did not notice that there were no player jerseys sold. So in all the stores in the stadium, I couldn't go buy an Agustin Ramirez jersey.
No, you could not. You
can
only get them custom made, and that's only in our main store downstairs, which is by the entrance. Wow. So
that's not good.
And that's not good, especially with the way the team is rolling, because that's actually a thing that we employees got consistently asked. Why don't we have names on the jerseys? Where can we get them? I think now, of course, the trade deadline will determine a lot of that. And I know the Marlins can be a bit of a seller at times, but I don't think that's going to happen so much this year, at least speaking as a casual. But I would say we need to start that because people are getting more invested in the team as they're winning. They're getting to know names more. And it starts with Stowers because, of course, he is an all-star. You have to start with him.
Well, you got Yuri Perez, you have Agustin Ramirez, but Sandy Alcantara even, I know in the first part of the podcast, I was talking about the struggles.
Even with the struggles, even with the struggles, we sell Sandy shirts, but
no jerseys.
No jerseys.
Have you ever asked, Anthony, like your higher-ups that work at the stadium, are involved with the merchandise that's being sold to the fan base, why that is? Because I'm honestly shocked right now that a Major League Baseball team you can't go buy a player jersey.
I mean, how long have you been covering the Marlins?
I mean, a while now. So
you know why, Jay. You know why,
right? I love it,
and that is the literally the reason why we don't. But I think now, as you finally have a really good, the last jersey with the name on it we sold was obviously Jazz Chisholm. He's gone.
So they used to sell them.
They used to, of course, because you had notable players.
Players, exactly.
When you started the season, you probably would not have ever said, yes, there's going to be a Marlins All-Star this year. You would not think that. Like you wouldn't.
A player deserving of an All-Star because every team does get an All-Star.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
That's interesting because you're right. Like the representative or to the fan base, the way they portray the organization, from a national standpoint, it's not in a positive light. And that's why they're trying to change it so hard. But it starts, like you said, with player recognition. You have to be able to invest your money for, I don't know. It's not like I'm a guy that goes and buys jerseys for baseball players, but I'm kind of the same way. If I wanted to, I wouldn't, because they are going to get traded. That's kind of the mindset. Thank goodness I didn't go out and buy a Jazz Chisholm trade or jersey, because he's gone. And that's the way a lot of people start to think. So I understand why they're doing it, but that's got to change. That's got to change. They got to start committing to individual players, like you said. I think that's a great point.
And you can obviously, Sandy is a bit of a discussion, obviously, at this point, and even higher ups know it. But everyone else, I mean, this is the core you could actually start to do that and turn things around. Because I get asked a lot for certain players on certain jerseys, and I can't name off the top of my head, to be honest with you, because it's just a lot goes on in these stores. But it's just like people are now intrigued. You have their attention now. You have, because again, my South Florida sports is on pause, but the Marlins are still going. This is your chance to gain some attention, to gain some respect. And I think again, after All-Star break, when we have our first home game back in loanDepot Park, we need to start selling player jerseys, not just have them custom made downstairs.
I think so. I think you're right. I think this team needs to, I've talked about extending Yuri Perez and Agustin Ramirez. Those are the two guys that I want extended.
Yeah, Ramirez has been amazing this year.
He's been crazy good. I mean, he's on fire. And this team, if they gotta commit, they have to commit to their fan base, because that was a great point you made. You made people are interested. People want to be fans. They want to buy in to their baseball team, especially at a time right now when they're playing really good baseball. They want to buy in.
And I'll tell you this, and I'm sorry to call him out, but my guy Nick from the Section 305 podcast, which I'm the producer of, he talks about all the time. loanDepot Park is a nice park, but I don't want to go there because the Marlins just haven't been that great in years. So literally, us as sports fans, we know the Marlins are there, but it's just been hard to buy in because they haven't bought in. If they buy into this core, I 1000% believe there'll be a turnaround. Because again, at this time of the year, most sports are on pause. They're in the off season. There's rumors going around. There's news being broke. There's extensions being signed. You can gain the attention now because the Miami Heat don't have a legitimate superstar. The Dolphins have a lot of questions with their core, especially on offense. The Panthers are the Panthers. You cannot touch them right now. Yeah. But in terms of the other two, you have a legitimate shot at gaining a true fan base. And again, it could really start with the merchandise. It also can just start with a lot of the ways that we work as a ballpark. But
yeah, it starts with the ownership, and it starts from the top. It starts with ownership wanting to win and wanting to build this fan base, because it's a sleeping giant.
I guess you can say, looking back at it, you could see now like they're committed just because, again, they believed in this young core, and now you're seeing the results of it. Of course, when we began the season, most people did not see it, nor did they pay attention. But now that they're winning and they're on this, not streak no more, but they're on this great run, this great stretch, like you're finally gaining that attraction that you were confident to get. Last season when you got to the roster, you lost a lot of attention. You lost a lot of fans.
Yeah,
fans were heartbroken. I talked to a lot of fans who were just like, they were upset. They knew it was coming, but they were upset with just how things played out. But now you see more rejuvenation because people are actually getting invested into this. That's how I became a Marlins fan. Season was over with the NBA. Dolphins were obviously not playing at all yet, but look at this, the Marlins team. I mean, let's go. Let's just watch two games.
You gotta start with playing good baseball. Play good baseball, and you have the opportunity to bring in these fans. You have the opportunity, but you have to capitalize on the opportunity. You can't let this go. And like you said, the core. Establish your young core. Continue, getting talent into the system and provide the fans with a reason to go to that ballpark. Anthony, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a great time talking with you.
No, I appreciate it, and hopefully be back another time.
Absolutely, man. For this edition of Locked On Marlins, that's going to wrap it up. I appreciate all you guys for listening or watching. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB podcast or Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel. Recap every game every night over there. They do a great job. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.